Welcome to your complete beginner's guide for the DJI Power 1000 and the DJI Power 500. However, everything that we're going to go through in this video applies to any style of portable battery or portable power station, because what I want to go through is how to understand the capacity of these batteries and what you can use to power them for when you're out on an adventure, you're using one of these on set for a production, or you're just at home and you're using this to power some different items in your house. The things that we're going to go through in this entire video apply to any style of power station or battery. And the DJI Power 1000 and 500 are going to be my examples as I explain how they work. And these are the batteries I'm specifically using when I'm out on an adventure. So let me just give you a quick outline of what you're going to learn in this video. First, we're going to go over the capacity of these styles of batteries and what you can plug into them. The second part, we're going to go through power distribution, so all the different things that you can plug in at once. In the third section, we'll go over how you charge these batteries and some different things that you need to think about when you're deciding on which battery you're going to get. And in the last section, we'll go through how to actually use these batteries and some different ways that you could use them when you're out creating content, or if you just want to use it to power something around camp. So if you're ready, let's get started. Now, quick disclaimer. The DJI Power 500 and Power 1000 were given to me for free from DJI in exchange for making a video featuring these two products. However, DJI did not have any input into this video, and they also didn't get to see it before I posted it. All right, so this first section is all about the capacity of these batteries. And typically when you find a battery, it's going to be called something like the DJI Power 1000. And the number typically is associated with how much watt hours you have for a battery. So these batteries are going to be rated in watt hours. So this battery is the 1000 and this is the 500. This is actually 1024 watt hours, and this one is 512 watt hours. But to figure out the capacity, it's just a simple equation. So this battery can run 1000 watts for 1 hour. That's what watt hours means. And so for this battery, it's 500 watts. So you basically get 500 watts for 1 hour. And so you could do a little bit of math to determine how much time you have on each battery, how much capacity for the different things that you're going to be powering using these batteries. And that's how you're going to determine which battery is best for you. So let me just give you a quick example. I have this little stove that boils water, cooks food, even makes popcorn. But basically this runs off AC power. So I'm going to plug this into my DJI Power 1000, and we're going to determine how much time I can run this one device using this 1000 watt battery. So when you're using these batteries, it's usually a two-stage process. There is a power that turns on the battery, and then depending on which port you're using, whether it's AC 12 volt or the USB ports, there's another button to turn on those specific ports. So I'm going to turn on the AC ports. I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to go get some water real quick. Set it to boil the water, and let's turn this on. So to do the math to figure out how much capacity this battery has, I'll take the battery's capacity, which is 1000 watt hours, and then I'll take that 1000 and divide it by how many watts this camping stove is drawing. So it's drawing about 500. So for simple math, basically, this battery will run this camping stove for 2 hours. So when you're looking at any battery, you just look at the watt hours, whether it's 1000, it's a 500, or there are batteries that are bigger and there's some that are smaller. You basically take that number and divide it by how many watts you're going to be drawing for the things that you're going to be using. So 500, I have my induction stove, which is another 600, which is 1100. So I could run both of these products for an hour. However, I'm not going to be running them continuously. And so this is where you need to look at all the different things that you're going to be using and start calculating how long you're typically going to be using each one of those products. And then you can have a better idea of what battery you need and how much capacity you need. All right, it looks like the water has been boiled and we've used 5% of the battery because we've only needed to use this for a few minutes to be able to boil the water. I could turn that off. Okay, let's talk about section 2, which is power distribution. So understanding how much your individual products draw is important, but you also want to think about how many things you're going to be using at the same time. So for example, this was 500 watts that I was using to make my tea. However, I might want to be charging a battery at the same time, while also maybe having my laptop plugged in, maybe running some lights off of the battery as well. Each one of these batteries has a different amount that you can actually draw at any given time. And this is different than that watt-hour number. And you're going to find that some batteries have lower capacity that can draw at the same time, whereas some have higher capacity. These two DJI batteries actually can draw a lot of power at the same time. And so what we're talking about is the continuous current that's being drawn out of each battery. So for the DJI Power 1000, which is a 1,000 watt-hour battery, you can draw 2,200 watts at any given time. So if you have this fully maxed out and you're pulling 220 out, this battery will last for about a half hour. Now, the Power 500, which is a 500 watt-hour battery, can pull up to 1,000 watts continuously. Same thing, you can run this for a half hour at 1,000 watts continuously because it's a 500 watt-hour battery. So are you going to be using the full current coming out of each of these batteries? Well, probably not. At any given time, the most that I'm pulling out is around 1,000. However, just depends on the different things that you need and that you're going to be plugging in at the same time. Now, with the other ports that you find on these batteries, you're going to be able to draw a different amount. So for the USB-A that you're going to find on the front of this, it's 24 watts. USB-C, it's up to 140 watts. Now, you have this SDC and SDC Lite, which DJI has created proprietary cables that allow you to fast charge things like your drones. And these go up to 240 watts. So that gives you a lot more power to be able to charge something like a drone battery so that you can get back flying fast. And that's one reason that you would want to choose the DJI batteries over some of the other ones that are on the market, because these ones are catered towards content creators with these additional ports for fast charging. So the big key takeaway from this section is you want to see the max output that the ports can draw and figure out how much you're going to be drawing at any given time. Now use your total number that you're going to be drawing, divide your watt hours by that, and then you're going to know exactly how much time you're going to have on the batteries, the capacity. So those are the main numbers that you need to know to be able to understand which battery. And with this, now when you start looking at your different things that you're charging or powering, it's going to be much easier to figure out what you can actually use these for. Now, there's one other number that you need to think about when you're looking at batteries, and that is the surge rating. So you're going to have the total watts that you can pull at any given time. However, these batteries will allow you to pull even more power for short bursts. So something like a microwave or a hairdryer or potentially a coffee pot will draw a bunch of power right when it's getting started, and then it will level off at a lower rate in terms of watts. So for example, the Power 1000 has a surge rating of 4,000 watts. So you could pull that when you're starting something, but then level off to 220 is the max on this. So that's another number for you to look at when you're going through and figuring out which battery works for you and which products you're going to use with the battery. Now, oftentimes these batteries will display how much time you have left with the current power draw. So I'm making coffee this morning, and right now it says I have 74% of the battery. So that's how much capacity I have left. But underneath that, you'll see it says I have 36 minutes. So at the current draw of 478, I have 36 minutes left on this battery. So depending on which battery that you're working with, it will auto-calculate how much time you have left based on how many watts you're pulling at that moment. So that's another good indicator to be able to understand how much you have left with the different things that you're using. Now, before we get into the next section, I just want to ask you, can you please hit that subscribe button? I make a lot of videos on this channel for content creators, especially those of you who are out there making adventure-style content. So let's talk about the next section, which is charging these batteries, because there are a few quirks with the newer technology that's coming out with the different power stations that are available. So the technology has improved where there is fast charging capabilities. So with the Power 500, you have 270 watt charging or 540 watt charging, which means that this will charge in under an hour. Now on the bigger 1000, you have 600 watts or you have 1200 watts fast charging, which means you could charge the big Power 1000 under an hour as well. Now the problem comes when you're charging these in something other than a wall outlet that you're gonna find at your home or wherever you're at. Older batteries, you could just charge off the inverter that's in your car. So for example, in my Jeep, I have 2 different power outlets that come straight from the car. So when I'm driving, I used to be able to charge these power stations. However, with the newer technology, it doesn't work anymore. The max output on my Jeep is 400, but even at the 270, it still doesn't work. There is a different frequency that's coming out of the AC ports in my Jeep. So DJI has an additional cable that allows you to charge this off of 12 volt. Now, it's going to be a slower charge than if you were to plug into your AC. However, you can have this charging while you're driving. And so you have to use one of these additional cables to be able to charge this off of your inverter that's in your car. So to figure out how long it's going to take to charge your battery, you just need to take the max watt input and divide the capacity, which is 500 watt hours, and you'll figure out how long it's going to take. So just as the math you did in section 1 to figure out how much you're drawing off of the battery, use the same math to figure out how much you're inputting into the battery to figure out how long it's going to take. Now, the last way that you could charge these batteries is off of solar. So I have 2 solar panels on top of my Jeep back there. And so I can plug in to the battery bank and have it charging while I'm driving as well. So I could use the inverter using the 12 volt, or I could pull off the solar panels. Now, when you're using solar, there is a loss. It's about 20% loss. Also, the direction of the sun is really gonna dictate how much power you're getting. So you're gonna have to constantly move the solar panels. But if you're somewhere for a little while and you're not gonna be driving your car and you're out on an adventure, using solar is the way to go to power these up. However, when I'm out, I'm not in camp for more than a day or 2. So I usually use my car to charge it up, or I find an electrical outlet somewhere. Maybe I stop somewhere for lunch and I could just charge one of these in under an hour. So 3 different ways that you can charge these through either the AC port, the 12 volt, or using solar panels. So let's just have a quick discussion of some ideas on how to actually use these batteries, because everyone's going to have different needs and you can run a ton of different products off of one of these batteries. For me personally, I use them when I'm out here, when I'm on an adventure, when I'm mountain biking or hiking or camping. And so what I'll do is I'll use Power 1000 to power my induction stove, my boil water, and I also use it to charge different things around camp, whether it's my cameras, computer, and I use the fast charging for my drones so that I never run out of power, because I can always have one battery fast charging while I'm flying the other batteries. Now the Power 500 is great. If I don't need the full capacity of 1,000 watt hours, 500 has more than enough power, and also it's significantly smaller. And so for me, I like to use the 500 watt for like an all-night time lapse. So whenever I set up my cameras at night to capture the stars, well, I'll have my cameras plugged into the Power 500 so that I never run out of battery, so I can do these longer time lapses. Also, when I'm on set, I'll actually keep the Power 500 on a cart that has my computer and my hard drives so that even if power gets pulled, well, I still have backup power. It's a great way to be able to use these different power stations is as a backup battery source for anything in your house, or if you're a filmmaker on set, it's a great backup source to just have whenever you need just an extra battery. Now, one feature you're gonna find on a lot of these batteries is an app. The DJI batteries just does not have a smartphone app that goes along with them. However, some of the other companies do. And this allows you to put the battery somewhere in the back of your truck. Like I could put my battery somewhere back here in the Jeep and then control everything from the app. So you could have different things plugged in, turn them on and off from the app, and also just be able to see the capacity. For me, I like to use these batteries, being able to pull them out of my truck and use them like out here around, be able to pull them in the house, be able to use them in different ways. So I don't really necessarily need the app, but it is a function that other batteries do have. And so if you want to know more about the DJI Power 500 and Power 1000, I'll put links down below in the description where you can check out more information about those. However, all of this that we talked about applies to any portable batteries out there. And so use this to figure out which battery makes sense for you, for the types of things that you need it for. But next, you should check out this video right here, which is a behind the scenes as I went out on an adventure into the sand dunes to try and recreate a scene from Dune 2. We used some old Soviet vintage lenses and had some fun playing around in the middle of nowhere. So I'll see you over there.